It's your boy G, San Francisco Bay Area, California. Aloha. In this video, I'm going to be talking about how I fumbled the bag. Basically, how I lost $300,000. Still grappling with the whole thing even today. It was one of the worst decisions that I've ever made. I just wanted to take the time to tell you the story so that you don't make the same mistakes. Let's get into it. How I lost $300,000. 2013. I bought a condo. I was 33 years old. I bought it for $100,000, which was really good at the time. It was relatively easy to buy, right? And I bought it within like 3 months. Didn't have a whole lot of issues. That whole process went smooth. I had a great mortgage lender, I had a great realtor. It was awesome. Everything was just great, so I thought. And then, after a couple of years after having it, I started to think to myself, I felt like I was at a standstill. I felt like I was spinning my wheels in my career. My relationships were failing. And I just wanted something different for myself. So I said, you know what? I'm going to go ahead and see if I could get into something else, which ultimately ended up being entrepreneurship. I had to try to figure out exactly what type of entrepreneur I wanted to be. And so I was doing some research. I ended up looking at the franchise. And so I was like, okay, maybe it's a better idea for me to buy a franchise since I don't have to start from scratch. So I was looking at this company. It's basically, they're like miniature Apple stores, right? They buy, sell, and repair pre-owned, certified Apple devices. I was thinking to myself, Apple's doing very well. Sounds like, that's going to be the future. I can't lose with Apple. So I was like, let me go ahead and move forward with purchasing this franchise. In order to do that, I would have to sell my home. Now, I ended up doing that a few years after I bought my home. By this time, my home value appreciated to around $300,000. So when I sold my home, they deposited about $200,000 into my account. I took 150 of that and bought this franchise. The franchise that I bought, it was in Kansas City. And it was actually pre-owned franchise that another guy was running. He didn't run it correctly. Was making a lot of mistakes in his ownership. I thought that I could basically do much better than he did as far as an owner. Since I have the marketing background and everything. So I said, let me go ahead and buy that store from him. So that's what I did. I ended up taking that store from a gentleman in Kansas City. I'm still in California, so I had to make the transition all the way over to Kansas City to purchase this store. And everything was going just fine until I started having some trouble with the franchise itself, the corporate office in Florida. The franchise had been in cahoots with Apple and ended up having to change the name of the franchise. That happened after I bought the franchise. So although we spent a whole lot of money on marketing and signage and everything, we had to redo all the signs and redo all the brochures, the posters and everything. And that was just extremely expensive because the franchise basically made it our responsibility to change the branding of the company since they were getting sued by Apple. And there was a lot of other things I didn't like about the franchise, such as, a lot of the fees and stuff that I didn't expect. And I had some trouble with my register, my point of sale system at one point. And, they didn't send anybody to help me with that. And I just started to not trust the franchise in Florida. So my store was doing pretty good. Our numbers are going up. Everything was looking good. And so about 6 months later, I was like, you know what? I want to buy another computer store. But this time around, I want to start my own store. I don't want to do any franchising. If you are familiar with how franchises work, you would know that you sign a disclosure agreement with a franchise that specifically states that you cannot start another company on your own. Similar to like if you were to buy a McDonald's and you wanted to start a McDowell's down the street, you couldn't just do that because it's a conflict of interest, and you'll be using their corporate identity and a bunch of other stuff to basically do your company. It would come in direct conflict with the company that you just purchased the franchise. So I decided, you know what, I'm gonna go ahead and start my own company. However, I don't want the franchise to have any say in what I do. I don't want the franchise to be involved. I don't want them to even know that I'm going to start my own company. I didn't really care what the franchise thought or did. I didn't care about the consequences. I started thinking to myself, if I was going to start another company, where would I start it? And after doing a little research, the answer became a little more clear. I was going to be starting my company in Hawaii. Hawaii was a good location because it was far away from the United States mainland, so that they would not find me. And I did a lot of research on Hawaii. Hawaii didn't have any companies like the one that I was bringing to that state. So it was a good idea to bring it there. I moved to Hawaii. I still had my franchise that I was running in Kansas City. I moved to Hawaii and started the process of building that company up. And within about 3 months, that one was up and running. And so I was running 2 companies, one computer store in Hawaii and one computer store in Kansas City. And they both were doing relatively decent until about 3 months after that store had opened. I received a letter from the corporate office from the franchise stating that I need to cease and desist and close my store down, and I had a certain amount of time to do that. I had to close the store down in Hawaii. So they eventually found me. I'm not exactly sure how, but my guess is that one of my employees in Kansas City, I don't want to say they ratted me out, but I didn't have a talk with them to let them know, okay, this is what I need you guys to do. So I think they just nonchalantly mentioned it to the corporate office when they stopped by to visit. And so they started doing some research and they found me in Hawaii. So I was dealing with that for a bit, and wouldn't you know, a couple months later, COVID hits and everything shut down and everyone was quarantined. And I didn't hear a single word or anything from the franchise. So that was a relief. But the fact is, we had a whole new problem on our hands getting through this pandemic. I experienced a problem that a lot of business owners would probably never experience. Most people, when they own a business, especially if you're selling products, a lot of times they'll buy inventory and they'll have a hard time selling it because, you know, their marketing's not up to par. They don't have awareness in the community about what it is that the community is looking for, and the community is not aware that they even exist. A lot of different reasons. But in my case, it was quite the opposite. Everyone at that point in time during COVID was looking for computers, laptops, iPads, because they needed to work from home. And I could not supply them with it, because after my inventory ran out, that was it. It was really hard to find more inventory. And the inventory that I did find overcharged me. So I wasn't making any profits. So, I sat there for a couple months just trying to figure out, okay, I'm not selling any products. I'm losing money, bleeding money. Because of course I still got a lot of other things that I'm responsible for, right? I got my rent in both locations. I got employees in both locations, and a lot of other things, leases that I was tied to. So my thing was, I hope this COVID thing kind of blows over. It almost sounds like a flu. And we know flu seasons, they don't last that long, 2-3 months. So that's what I thought it was going to be. I thought it was going to be, 3 months and this COVID virus would just disappear. And come to find out that really wasn't the case. So I went months and months of just bleeding money at both of my companies. And just got to the point to where, I got desperate. I was doing anything to keep my businesses afloat. I ended up dipping into my 401k and basically depleting most of that, trying to pay my bills. And I had some personal credit cards, and they tell you should never use personal credit and mix it up with your business credit. So at that point I was desperate, just trying to keep my business afloat. So I ended up paying a lot of my bills with my personal credit cards, and still didn't help at all. Lost a lot of money, and eventually had to close both businesses and lay off, of course, all of my employees, and file for bankruptcy. I did everything I could to save my businesses, but I let it go on for too long. I didn't pull the plug soon enough, but that's because we're always taught as men to don't give up, don't quit. And so that's what I was doing. I tried to just keep pushing, and hopefully things would change with COVID and everything, but it never did, and I ended up losing everything anyways. So after I lost both of my businesses, there was a brief point in time in which I was like, since I do have an entrepreneur spirit, I still kind of wanted to get into entrepreneurship. So I was dating this girl, and together we come up with a brilliant idea that we're going to start a cleaning company, because she was a supervisor at a cleaning company, and she pretty much knew a lot about cleaning commercial buildings. I knew nothing, but I knew all about running a business. So I thought I did. But anyways, we did the cleaning company for, about over a year, and I actually did very well with the cleaning company. And I actually acquired enough money to see if I could get a second crack at opening my computer store again. So that's what I did. I took probably about a good, 20 grand, and tried my hand at opening yet another computer store, because at this time COVID was kind of dying down, and could probably do pretty good at it this time. But what was happening was, everything that I made at my cleaning company, I was putting it into the computer store. We didn't have the same numbers that we did pre-COVID, and we still were losing a considerable amount of money, even though we had connected with the community by then, even though our marketing and everything was up to par. It still was never the same as it was pre-COVID. So eventually ended up having to shut the computer store down, and which left me with the cleaning company. And the cleaning company in and of itself was a challenge to keep running, for the simple fact I had an issue with finding decent people to work for me. In Hawaii, that was really hard because the culture in and of itself is very relaxed. Nobody wants to work, and we were at a point in time in history, I guess, that we called it the Great Resignation. There was a lot of employees, or a lot of people that just did not want to work. Didn't want to work. They're trying to figure out their life after COVID and trying to determine exactly what they want to do with their life. And so, cleaning just wasn't that. It's not really sexy work, right? Wiping toilets, mopping floors, it's not what people really want to do. So I had a hard time finding employees. And, the employees that I did have, they were not really all that great, right? I was hiring people. We knew they were drug addicts. But you just didn't have a choice, right? What can you do? Eventually, I lost some big accounts because I just didn't have the staffing. A lot of the people that I had do cleaning at particular locations, they were making some really big mistakes. And the managers of those companies, they were taking pictures of the different places that people forgot to mop or sweep and things like that. They're being hypercritical. So I lost a couple of big accounts. And then that's when I said, it's time to shutter the doors on the cleaning company as well. The computer store, the last one, I actually didn't close it. I actually sold it to one of my trusted employees. That computer store is actually still running. I'm just not the owner anymore, but still in Hawaii. It's being ran by one of my former employees. And even though I'm not making any money on it, it still is part of my legacy. I could drive by and say, look, I started that store, and have a sense of pride knowing that I created that piece of Hawaii. But yeah, so I spent $150,000 to buy the store. I spent another $50,000 to buy the second store in Hawaii. I depleted about $50,000 out of my 401k. And then there's another $50,000 of incidentals over the past couple of years, just wasting money, buying furniture, buying countertops, inventory, just a lot of things that would be needed in order to run a business. So total, I lost about $300,000. I lost my house, 2 businesses, tried to get a second win, and lost 2 more businesses. And here I am, starting from scratch, bankrupt, although that's been about 3 years ago. I'm in recovery mode right now. I'm just trying to get back everything I lost. I don't know if I'll ever run a computer store again, but I'm always going to be an entrepreneur. I got an entrepreneur spirit. So I'll figure something else out. But this time, I have a lot more knowledge. I'll be equipped with more business acumen, and I'll know exactly how to run a business more effectively and make wiser decisions. I think that even if COVID didn't take my businesses from me, or at least was the initiator as far as the businesses imploding, I think I would have had a hard time with the businesses anyways, because I was such a, I don't want to say careless business owner, but I just didn't know a lot about running a business, and I made a lot of mistakes. And some of them I already went over with you. I think I scaled too quickly. I think I should have had that one franchise for about a good year or 2 before even considering scaling. I got tied into a lot of leases that I really didn't need. I was paying $7,000 to $8,000 for rent for both of the locations, and I could have found something a lot cheaper. And just not being able to fully understand my financial statements. I had an accountant, and I don't think she was a great accountant. There's certain accountants that are more hands-on, that are more like advisors. If they see something that's not right, they'll point it out to you and let you know, hey, you know, I'm looking at this column and you got to get these numbers up because this doesn't look good. You got taxes due, you know, in a few more months, you need to start saving up for that. The accountant that I had, they were paper pushers. They basically collected all of my financial docs, handed it to me and said, there you go. And so, you know, I was responsible for looking at my own financial docs, even though I didn't quite understand a lot of them, trying to determine exactly what the financial health of my business was looking like. And I didn't do a great job because there were some parts of my business that I could have focused on more so than others. But I think that a lot of that has to do with the team that you surround yourself with, in particular your accountants, because they're supposed to let you know, hey, you're slacking in this area. You need to step it up over here. You need to spend more money over here. You need to spend less money over here, right? I just feel that they could have been consultants to me more so than just handing me papers and saying, here you go, thank you. But anyways, that is how I lost $300,000, and I'm still recovering today. Don't be like me. Be smarter with your money.
If this video was of value to you, like, comment, share, subscribe, and as always, it's your boy G. Be blessed. I'll holler at you later. Aloha.